If you could go back to the beginning, what would you try to change?
Look, Mom. I'm here. Very top of Arasaka Tower. You're right, Mom. I know I can. I'll do my best. You got my word. Arasaka all the way to the top.
A city of legends. All you really have is how you'll be remembered. And who remembers? In Night City, you don't fight to win, or even to stay alive. You do it so that one day, you might just make it to the major leagues. And just for a moment. Be something that fucking...
Rebecca, our free 5-star Edgerunner from Night City, is finally here in Wuthering Waves 3.4 with her insane arsenal of weapons, explosive moveset, and fantastic buffs. It's clear from her design that she's tailored to work with her partner in crime, Lucy, but she also comes with some of the best general damage increasing abilities in the game that'll have you wondering how she's even free. As an Electro basic attack damage focused unit that heavily buffs Tomb Break boost and heavy attack damage, she'll work best alongside DPS units like Lucy or Augusta and support units like Mornye or Shorekeeper. With that, welcome to our full scope comprehensive guide to Rebecca, the newest addition to Wuthering Waves, and I'm here to break down everything when it comes to how she works, what her best equipment will be, and the steps you need to take across her team building and rotations to make the most out of her insane buffing potential. As always, if you're enjoying this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. Rebecca, with her baseline kit, focuses on the generation of fervor through her regular attacks to activate an enhanced heavy attack and greatly buff her personal damage output before unloading lead on her enemies with her liberation and buffing her entire team. So naturally, that fervor resource is where we'll begin. Rebecca generates this resource in a variety of different ways. The first is with her normal attacks. Rebecca has two unique weapons with different attack chains. In Huntress mode, her default state, she gains 30% crit damage and has a simple 3-hit basic chain, while her heavy attack continuously fires at enemies. Releasing this attack fires a follow-up heavy attack shot. Her mid-air attack simply plunges, and her dodge counter performs the final hit of her attack chain. Rebecca also gains access to a tactical dodge that can be cast during virtually any attack to dodge in the middle of her action while she's on the ground. A successful dodge triggers a hit of electro damage, and you can hold down her attack to follow up with her heavy attack after the dodge without consuming stamina. On the other hand, in Gut state, Rebecca ignores 15% of her target's defense. She also has a 3-hit basic chain, but its cycle isn't interrupted after performing a tactical dodge. Her heavy attack is simply one hit, while her dodge counter and plunging attack function identically to her Huntress form. Her tactical dodge in Gut state also functions identically, but cannot be performed during her heavy attacks. The next method of generating fervor is through her Resonance skill. This ability damages enemies and switches Rebecca's active weapon. The final way to build up fervor is through activating Rebecca's second enhanced state, Hot Hand. Rebecca holds up to 120 points of this resource and generates it at 10 points per second. Using an intro skill, which also switches Rebecca's weapon when cast, while Hot Hand is capped, triggers a Girl Gets What She Wants, which activates both buffs across Rebecca's weapons for 12 seconds, granting her both the 30% crit damage and 15% defense ignore regardless of which weapon she's using. Hot Hand drops by 10 points per second while this buff is active, and she can't generate any more of it while it's live. This buffed intro will also generate 50 fervor. When fervor is filled, Rebecca gains access to an enhanced heavy attack with either of her weapons. This will consume all fervor, pull in nearby targets, and deal a burst of basic attack damage while restoring 40 Hot Hand. After performing these attacks and buffing her personal damage, Rebecca will then want to use her Liberation. This ability brings out her Mark 31 heavy machine gun and stagnates enemies for 9.5 seconds. Rebecca will then fire automatically, and pressing or holding the attack button will enhance the firepower and accumulate a resource called Overload. While firing, she gains 50% damage reduction and interruption resistance, and she can hold up to 90 points of Overload, with each shot generating more points and also dealing more damage damage based off of how enhanced the machine gun is. After the state ends, overload is maxed, or the liberation button is held, Rebecca will end shooting and then follow up with Boom Fireworks, a massive burst of damage. When you factor in all of Rebecca's abilities, resources, and interactions with each other, she has an incredibly simple kit that focuses on intro skilling in, activating her hot hand buff, then generating fervor to activate her enhanced heavy attack before capping out her rotation with her liberation, firing every shot before entering with a fireworks show, then outro skilling to a DPS. Summoning a turret for 14 seconds that provides the incoming unit with Edgerunners bonds. This buff grants 15% all damage amp initially, and then 1 stack of overlimit every 1/5 of a second that grants 0.5% of heavy attack damage amp. This means it takes 14 seconds for this to fully ramp up. Lucy, a fellow Edgerunner, immediately receives the max buff upon receiving this effect, and Lucy will also enhance Rebecca's turret, increasing its multiplier by 250%, but reducing its duration on field to 4 seconds. When it comes to her inherent skills, her first increases her attack by 10% when she triggers Hot Hand or her enhanced heavy attack, stacking up to 2 times. She also buffs Resonators who inflict Hack Shifting, a unique tune debuff with 30 Tune Break boost, making her incredibly important for Lucy's hack damage. Rebecca also inflicts Hack Shifting herself upon using her intro skills, enhanced heavy attacks, or her liberation, and can trigger a hack response to Tune Breaks that deals a massive burst of damage. For her second inherent skill, Rebecca gains interruption resistance during her enhanced heavy attack and also buffs the entire team's attack by 20% when she uses her liberation for 30 seconds, making her one of the best general buffers in the game. Overall, Rebecca is absolutely fantastic for a free unit when it comes to her overall buffing ability, personal damage, and usability across the roster outside of Edgerunner teams, unlike Lucy, and provides a great blend of damage, utility, and a very unique on-field kit that offers a variety of playstyles as you decide to invest more and more into her sequence nodes. However, what's clear is that her overall performance in her tailored Edgerunners teams won't necessarily match up with some of the top teams in the meta without a fair amount of additional investment. One of the reasons for this is because hack debuffs really want Mornye on their team to increase the uptime of their tune breaks, but won't benefit from a 40% damage buff on her interfered marker because hack isn't counted as a tune debuff. So investments like Mornye's S1 do quite a bit for her and Lucy. However, Rebecca is still completely free with plenty of use cases outside of being Lucy's best in slot partner, alongside a wide variety of potential echo sets. When it comes to building Rebecca, starting off with her skill priority, you want to max out her Forte and Liberation first as the main sources of her damage. Then you'll go for her basics, and then her Resonant skill and intro can be kept at a lower level to conserve on weekly boss mats. Moving on to her weapons, there are only 2 real options when focusing on Rebecca's supporting ability, but more if you want to lean into her damage. Here's what the calculations are looking like, credits to Pridewin. Let's explain these results, starting off with her signature, Skull Thrasher. This weapon has a low base attack of 500, a massive crit damage of 72%, and a 12% attack buff and a 24% basic attack damage bonus when introing in for 14 seconds. Inflicting Hack Shifting also increases that bonus by 12% for 14 seconds and buffs the attack of all teammates by 24% for 30 seconds. This weapon is absolutely fantastic for Rebecca's personal damage and her team buffing ability. It's tailor-made for her kit, and she has permanent uptime on pretty much all its effects. Her second best DPS option is another sub-DPS signature, Lene. This weapon instead grants a higher upfront basic attack damage bonus of 36%, but has a more general stat blend with crit rate. Rebecca also cannot benefit from its buffing ability, but its stats are amazing for her personal damage. Facing Homogenizer, the new standard 5-star pistol will be her third best DPS option, given its high uptime on its damage effect and good crit stats. On the other hand, her second best buffing option, and the go-to for most players, will be the OG standard pistol, Static Mist. This weapon has a standard base attack and crit rate while providing ER and a great attack buff to the recipient of Rebecca's outro skill. This weapon synergizes the best with Rebecca's sub-DPS role and should be the main option you go for when using her with Lucy at low sequence nodes. All other weapon options shouldn't be considered at all because you've got 2 standard selectable weapons as some of Rebecca's top picks. Just go for those. Now let's talk about Rebecca's echoes, and she's got 3 different options depending on what she's going to be doing on your team. If buffing a DPS like Lucy or Augusta, Rebecca should opt for a 5-piece Moonlit Cloud set on Bellborn Geochalone or a 5-piece Neon Light Leap set if she's exclusively supporting Lucy, where you can just steal some pieces from Lene, as Rebecca's built-in Tomb Break boost on hack-focused teams is very competitive. However, if Rebecca is taking on more of a damaging role, go for a 1-piece Shattered Dreams Atom Smasher Echo in her main slot for that crit rate and basic attack damage boost, and a combination of 2-piece Electro and attack for your other 4 slots. I don't recommend this unless you're pulling Rebecca's weapon and a few dupes. For main stats, you'll have identical requirements across both sets: a crit 4 cost, 2 Electro 3 costs, and 2 attack 1 costs. For substats, you'll go for crit rate, damage, ER up to 120%, basic attack damage rolls, attack rolls, and a liberation roll or 2 if you're feeling spicy. The last area of investment when it comes to Rebecca involves your wallet or a lot of saved Astrite, sequence nodes, and with 3.4's collab pulling event, you probably really want to know if these are worth the money. Credits to Pridewin for the calcs. Her first node increases the damage multipliers of all her normal attacks by 50% and also grants her 3 stacks of Street Smarts when triggering Hot Hands buff. When using a tactical dodge, one will be consumed to restore 20 stamina, and her Liberation's follow-up attack will also be immune to interruption. Rebecca's S2, on the other hand, is far more supportive, granting a 20% all-attribute damage bonus to the team when her intro skill or Liberation is used for 30 seconds, and when teammates inflict hack shifting, they gain 15% all damage amp for 30 seconds. Hot Hand also generates twice as fast out of combat. This buff is incredible, not really for Rebecca, but mostly for Lucy to amplify her damage. Her S3 causes her Liberation to gain a 60% damage multiplier increase alongside a 30% wider area. Her intro skill will also immediately generate 120 points of Hot Hand. The 4th node grants her 60% additional bonuses from her Huntress and Gut modes crit and defense ignore stats, while her 5th grants her 20% basic attack damage bonus when inflicting hack shifting. And her 6th node, the big one, causes all of her basic attack damage bonuses to be increased by 40% while also triggering a 900% burst of basic electro damage when she uses her enhanced heavy attacks. Rebecca will also recover 20 more points of Hot Hand when using her Enhanced Heavy, and when she takes a fatal blow, she'll survive and heal 2077 HP 5 times with a 10-minute cooldown. She'll also restore 120 points of Fervor when out of combat for 4 seconds. For Lucy's personal damage, you should stop at Rebecca's S2 while getting Rebecca's weapon. And for Rebecca's damage, S3 and S6 will be your biggest boosts. Now that we've covered Rebecca's build, let's get into some of her teams and optimal rotations. Unfortunately, Rebecca doesn't need Lucy as much as Lucy needs Rebecca, and in many ways, you can view Rebecca as an upgrade to Mortefi for most heavy attack damage dealers. This means we'll be seeing DPSs like Augusta as well. Our first team features Mornye as the support, Rebecca as the sub DPS on Moonlit Clouds or Neon Light Leap, and Lucy as the main DPS. You'll want to start off on Lucy, immediately cast her Liberation, and select all of the debuffing effects. Then you'll swap to Mornye, attack 3 times, heavy attack into her hovering state, and then basic 3 times into her skill, performing her marking heavy attack, Liberation, and then her echo skill before introing onto Rebecca. Rebecca will then basic attack 3 times, skill to switch to Huntress form, and then perform 2 basics, and then her forte heavy attack, followed by her Liberation, where you're gonna make sure to fire every single shot, and then an outro skill to Lucy while the animation of Boom Explosion is still playing. Lucy will then intro in, double cast her skill, and then perform 3 basic attacks, her enhanced deadlock skill, and then 4 enhanced basics, followed by dual threading, and then multi-threading in the air, with her enhanced Liberation at the end, before outroing back to Mornye. This team has a much shorter second rotation, as Mornye will intro skill in with her hovering mode active, and Rebecca on this second rotation will also be able to skip her 2 basics after switching to her Huntress form, instead immediately using her Forte Heavy into her ultimate following her first stance switch. This team greatly benefits from Mornye's global off-tune build-up rate boost, which provides much more hack uptime, greatly increasing the team's DPS. However, Mornye's 40% damage buff from her interfered marker does not apply unless she's S1 or higher. You can opt to sub in Shorekeeper instead of a Mornye to focus more on the team's raw damage output as opposed to hack damage, and at S0, both perform very similarly. Our second team will feature Shorekeeper as the support, Rebecca as the sub DPS on Moonlit Clouds, and Augusta as the main DPS. You want to start off the rotation on Shorekeeper, who will basic attack 3 times, Resident Skill, basic again, Forte Heavy attack, and then Liberation. You'll then basic attack and perform more Forte Heavy attacks if required to fill up her Concerto before swapping to Rebecca. Rebecca will then perform the same rotation listed prior, eventually outro skilling to Augusta, while Augusta will intro in, enhanced heavy attack, skill, enhanced heavy attack again, and then cast her first Liberation. Then you'll perform all 3 of her newly available enhanced skills, followed by her second Liberation before outro skilling back to Shorekeeper to begin the rotation again. This team, in many ways, outperforms the old free-to-play special of Mortefi Augusta, and with Rebecca being completely free and working very well with Static Mist, this is a fantastic bonus for many players. Unfortunately, she has very little synergy with some existing heavy attack DPSs like Jian, as this very short front-loaded rotation doesn't play very well with her stacking outro, while Augusta operates in the exact opposite manner. She's more backloaded. Keep in mind that Rebecca functions very similarly to Linnae as a general use case buffer. With her ability to respond to tomb breaks with her respectable hack damage, her 50% all damage amp on outro, and her general attack buffs from her kit and weapon, she can even work in lineups that don't necessarily feature a heavy attack DPS. At the end of the day, Rebecca is somewhat a restrictive sub DPS that has some of her outro time gated based off of whether or not they're Lucy, but the rest of her kit provides so much for so many teams that she'll be a valuable addition for nearly every account in some way for content moving forward. And when you factor in that she's completely free, the deal almost seems too good to be true. Many might feel the FOMO or pressure to pull for Lucy given that they're getting Lucy's best in slot for free, but do keep in mind that you can get plenty of value from Rebecca without going too deep into the collab. And when she also operates incredibly well on the free-to-play standard pistols, my recommendation is that you try her out on a budget and then see if you're willing to spend more. Remember, this collab is only live for this patch, but who knows about reruns, especially knowing that Edgerunners Season 2 is coming out soon. And we all know that Kuros put a lot of work into those Night City assets. It'd be a shame if they were never used again. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. Peace out.